Hi, I'm Sandy Ames, hypnotherapist. Today we are going to learn how to change your life in one step. That's right. How do you get from where you are to where you want to be? It only takes one step, and you are going to learn that today. You may have heard along the way, because I know you're on a self-help journey, you may have heard it's really just an emotional journey. Right? Whenever we want something, whenever we desire something, it's always for one reason. And that's because we believe we'll feel better when we get the thing. It's always an emotional journey. And now I'm going to tell you something that may sound a little shocking. You cannot change your emotions. What? You cannot change your emotions. By law, it is not possible. The chemical of wanting to change it is not anywhere near the size of the chemical of the emotion. Said in another way, the analyzing mind, the front part of your brain that makes up 12% of your mind power, the part that has the desire to change because it can think, it can look ahead and say, yeah, no, I want a different life. The part of your life that analyzes, that decides, that chooses, 12% of your mind power, conscious mind. The part that has the emotion, that has the old habit, that has the old thought patterns, the old triggers, that part, 88% of your mind power, that's your subconscious mind. And it's the part that runs you unconsciously, beyond conscious awareness. You may be consciously aware that it's happening, but the conscious mind cannot override what the belief systems already have in place. The bottom line is, it's like trying to stop an ocean wave, trying to use the wrench of the front of your brain to stop the tornado that's coming through the back. Another way we can say this, you can't use logic to change the not logic part because the thinking brain is trying to make a change where it can't. When you look at the definition of anxiety, anxiety is always unequivocally without exception. Anxiety is when we are trying to control something that is uncontrollable, whether it's a person out there, a situation out there, or an emotion inside here. You cannot stop an ocean wave. You cannot change your emotion. Yet it's an emotional journey. Yet the only way we make change is when our emotions change, because that changes our belief systems, because it rewires our reaction to a situation. Negative triggers mean it triggers an emotion, which releases a chemical in the brain, which then goes down through the body. So then how can we make changes? And certainly the question is, how can we make changes in one step? The rewiring work that we're doing, which is the change making in your life, the rewiring that we're doing is you can look at that same old trigger, that same old situation, that same old person, and the rewiring makes a different emotion go through you, a different chemical go through you, a different reaction, which creates different impulses, which creates different actions, which creates new, different life change. We unplug from the old emotion that gets pumped through the body, and we replug into a new one. Those emotions create impulses, which are actions. Therefore, that old trigger that used to put us into, whether it was a wave of depression or anger or fill in the blank, now we can actually use those old triggers to trigger a new action, a new behavior through the shift in the emotion that it triggers. And that's the difference when it comes to weight loss or working out or healthy lifestyle. The difference of, I'm making myself go to the gym. Hey, look at me. I'm so great. I made myself go to the gym. That's willpower. That's in that 12% thinking part of your mind. Okay, that can work for a little while. But it must shift to, I feel like going to the gym. Gym is the new habit. Feel like, feel emotion. You see, because you already know, you learned this in kindergarten, that a feeling is an emotion. I feel happy. I feel sad. A feeling is an emotion. You also know that an emotion is a chemical. Those chemicals create impulses, which lead to action, which lead to new chemical impulse, feelings, emotions, new actions, new behavior, life changes. Here's how thoughts and impulses go together. Any thought, regardless of the emotional level of the thought, any thought will beget another thought that matches the emotion of that thought. You start thinking negative stuff, you start getting more negative stuff. You start thinking positive stuff, and then more stuff like it comes and matches it. That's just how the brain is wired. Abraham Hicks talks about 16 or 17 seconds of a better feeling thought is just enough to do that rewiring because it sweeps you up and takes you in the better direction. So you never need to pick the greatest thought or the thought that's all the way to calm or all the way to success or freedom, just one in that direction, and then the flow will sweep you up. Then better emotions, better impulses, more inspiration to do what you truly desire. So if you're in a negative emotion, the impulses you get, they're going to work against you. So whenever you're making a decision, especially an important one, and pretty much every decision you make is important because it's all just your life. When you're in a negative emotion and you can catch that, simply say to yourself, now is the time to not make a decision. You might have an impulse to do something and it may be strong. And then you might say, but aren't I supposed to listen to my inner voice? First, listen to your inner emotion. If it's a good one, go with it. Not a good emotion, wait. No opportunity is going to pass you by if you don't act when you catch that you're in a negative emotion. Pause. That's the most empowering thing you can ever do. Don't try to create or make change from that very analyzing mind that analyzed you into this mess in the first place. So we need to plug in above it. And what I mean by that is whether you meditate or just find a way to distract from analyzing. Analyzing is trying to convince the belief systems, and it's not possible. So any excuse you can use to feel a little lighter. So when you just catch that you're not feeling so great, there's the win. There is the win. You don't need to try to create a new impulse. Just know, where is this impulse coming from? A negative emotion or a positive emotion? It's that moment of pause. Abraham Hicks says, you're always in the receiving mode. We like to think of the receiving mode as receiving inspiration from, and then you can fill in the blank, whether it's your higher self, your inner wisdom, source, universe, God, wisest self. In the same way that the sun is always shining on the earth, you know that even if it's dark where you are, you understand that concept. Well, the same thing with receiving inspiration, whether you call it impulses from your brain or God talking to you or anything in between, it's just science. So from the Abraham Hicks perspective, we're always in a receiving mode. And then you need to just figure out which receiving mode are you in. Are you receiving impulses from a positive or a negative place? If it's from a negative place, pause. If you're not sure, if you're efforting to try and move that emotion, well, then you definitely are efforting. Trying to change an emotion is like trying to pick up a truck and move it. And then you look around and you see 8 billion people on the planet all trying to move a truck. And you say, but isn't that what we're supposed to do? And I say, well, how are they all doing? And you're like, well, they all seem to be struggling. And I'm one of them. And I say, okay, so you want to keep doing that? Or go back and look at your truck. Forget about everybody else in their trucks that they're trying to move. Look at your truck and notice there's a foam block in front of one of the wheels. Now, I know you still want to fight me on this and say, but that's okay. I can just work really hard at picking up my truck and moving it around the block. That's what everybody else is doing. And I said, just take a breath. That block weighs kind of nothing. So just go ahead, kick the block away and look at that. Your truck rolls. That block represents something really important, and that's that one step to change your life. And when you understand this, then that's going to make more sense in just a moment. If you feel like you're efforting at all, you're pushing the truck, stop, pause. Trust that that pause is the space where the receiving of the good impulse even has a possibility of getting through. Don't reach for it. You can't lose. The moment you feel that relief, more stuff in the good direction comes. The answers come when you let go. It unfolds when you do. And you don't have to try to hold on to anything that you thought was a good idea, because when you're feeling good, it's easy, it's effortless, the impulses flow, they never stop. There's no rush. Play in that space without needing to see evidence or outcomes, and then watch the evidence and outcomes unfold. It unfolds when you do. Now, often the work that I personally specialize in is clearing up false beliefs, false premises, that disconnect between what you say you believe and what you truly believe, and what you say you want and what you really believe about it. Because by the time people come to me, they've tried really hard to make those changes. They've done a lot of work, but something's not working right. And that's because they are believing in something that's exactly getting in their way. So we look at what those things are, we clear that up, and then you use your mind, the power of your creativity, your visualization toward what it is you purely do want. And then it goes at lightning speed, because noticing your emotion in any moment, noticing is the victory. Noticing, pausing is the achievement. Noticing that you're not ready to choose right now is the achievement. Noticing when you sit down for meditation that your mind is going all kinds of places right there, that moment, that is an achievement in meditation. Then shifts begin to occur, and you recognize that you have something you didn't know you had before, which is options. Options are the opposite of anxiety. And if that sounds too simple, why did you have anxiety? Because it looked like things were not going very well for you. That means you didn't have choice of other things. When you realize that other things are possible, then the shifts begin. But I haven't given you that one step yet. If you want to make change, you want to go somewhere, the first step is knowing where you are on the map. That's that moment of pause, recognizing what is my emotion? Where am I on the map? And then you know which way to turn, because you know where you're going and you know where you're starting from. And everything becomes more clear. Clarity is empowerment. When you know what you don't want, you know more specifically what you do want. So catching that negative emotion without needing to change it, or even without needing to know what the heck to do next, that's the first step. That's an achievement. Let that be enough. The next step always reveals itself. That's the law. When you're playing a video game and you master that one level, you don't have to like write a letter to them. Hey, can you guys send me the next level? The next level then gets unlocked. Same as inside of you, your inner video game. When you become aware, that awareness begins to become familiar. The only thing that ever scares people off from making change is the unfamiliar. So when we become aware, the awareness itself becomes familiar, and then change can occur comfortably, effortlessly. And that's where the subconscious mind allows for that change. It only fights what's unfamiliar. When we see repetition in the familiar, that repetition becomes new habit. The brain is then required to release a different emotion with that same old thought or situation. So you wake up in the morning and that feeling becomes hopeful rather than tearful. We go to work eager rather than stressed. We see our body and it triggers a craving for movement instead of dread. So thoughts change, and that begins with awareness. Awareness changes thought. That thought generates an emotion. Emotion generates action. Action generates emotion. Thought to action, repetition to habits. How? Well, you disrupt the pattern. The new possibilities are options. Options are the new possibilities. Now, all you need to do right at this point is believe that it is possible that shift can occur by doing something differently than how you did it before. Because how you did it before is familiar, which means differently is unfamiliar. We're going to change different to familiar now. A new emotion, a new impulse, a new action, a new evidence. The loop continues. Analyzing creates more problems because it's the analyzing mind that created the problem in the first place. So here's what you can do. Remember that foam block that we just kick it away and the truck just rolls? We don't even have to touch the truck. You cannot change an emotion, but here is the one step. What you can change is this. It's one word, and that word is focus. Very close cousin to distraction. Focus. Very close cousin to disrupting the pattern. Focus. That is the answer. That is the one step. You shift your focus, and then the emotion gets changed. Everyone else is trying to lift the truck. You didn't even touch the truck. You kicked a weightless foam block away, and the truck rolls. How do you shift your focus, which, by the way, is your tool of creation? Focus is your tool of creation. Ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want? This is it. This is the work right here. Ask yourself, what do I want? Okay, great. Notice I did not say figure out why you don't have it. I didn't say spend 20 years in therapy figuring out what went wrong with your mother. No, 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 no. That rabbit hole. Here we go. Ready? Here's how we shift our focus. Recognize the negative emotion. Be aware. That's step one. Okay. And now here you go. Just ask yourself, what do I want? Did you answer that? What do I want? Okay. And then you can simply, you want to look at the problem everybody does. Here's how you do it. Ask yourself, what's in the way? That's all. Not why or what happened 10 years ago. Here's what I want. What is currently in the way? That's it. And now you know. Now you can ask, why do I want it? But you may often find that that answer is going against something. I want a new apartment because I don't like my husband. And that's a going against belief. So you're not really going toward apartment. You're going away from husband. You're going to find a worse one over there. But that's okay. Because when you ask, why do I want it? And you notice there's a going against belief in there, now you can shift it because you've become aware. So notice those running away thoughts and shift them to running toward thoughts. Line up with what you do want. That's focus. Line up with the emotion of what you do want. What do I want? Why do I want it? Line up with the emotion of why you want it. And then just pause. And things start to unfold because it unfolds when you do. This was a pretty conceptual conversation, wasn't it? Words that are just words that you kind of knew what they meant, but when we break them down, it opens up an entire world. So let's go through what we just learned. You want to make a change in your life. The habit has been to analyze it. But now you've really learned that that analyzing mind is the thing that caused the problem in the first place. So you're creating more of a problem. But to do something different, that's unfamiliar. And that's the biggest fear of all people, is the unfamiliar. So how do we make it familiar? Make awareness familiar. Be aware of how you feel. Just notice the emotion. You don't have to fix or change anything. The noticing itself is a win. You sit down to meditate, you notice your crazy mind going. That is a win. You already know that when you get distracted from meditation, each and every time you come back, you have the ability to go deeper. Good work. Awareness becomes familiar. Awareness is a focus. The emotion changes. The feeling changes. Impulses change. Behavior changes. Feelings change. New habits are created. How do you shift your focus? Wake up and say, here's a new day. What's one thing I'll focus on differently? Maybe I'll brush my teeth with the other hand, just enough to be aware. Maybe I'll set something up for tonight so I don't overeat later in the evening. Maybe I'll download that course I wanted to take, or I'll pull out that book I've wanted to read and I'll set it in a different place than I used to sit to watch the Netflix and eat too much. Maybe I'll take a walk after dinner. Maybe I will set my alarm right now in the morning for the time that I'm going to be taking a walk. And then let me back it up and set it for the time that I'm going to be eating dinner, which will be earlier. Portion control will be easier because my brain will be in a better place. My blood sugar will be stabilized, and then I will go for a walk. And you know what? Then I'm going to take a bath before bed and light a candle. Maybe take a different route to work. Maybe order something different at the coffee shop. Maybe go to a different coffee shop. Anything to disrupt the pattern will create an awareness of focus. Start to see what you want your day to feel like, look like. Baby steps, big picture. Here's a thing Dispenza says, which I think is so great. He says, rather than cause and effect, which is what's been going on in your life, rather than cause and effect, think of it as cause and effect. The one step in changing your life, knowing that it's always ever an emotional journey, knowing that it's impossible to change an emotion. That one step is to change your focus. Shift your focus, and then the emotion gets shifted. It shifts your impulses, shifts your behaviors, changes your life. Shift your focus. Before you walk away from this podcast, Congratulate yourself. Be aware that you just listened to this entire thing. Huge amount of information that you just took in and understood and made your own, because now you can see one tiny shift you want in your day somewhere. Do one of those every day. You've made 30 changes in a month. You've made a life change. Shift your focus. Notice your emotion. No effort, no changing anything. Awareness. Choose something to focus on that's easy. I'd like to smell the fresh air. Work is done. You got this.